I texted him and I was like, just FYI, I woke up this morning with a rage of 1,000 suns. I'm giving you the heads up now. Don't take it personally. And this is where we're at.
No,
Okay.
it's totally legitimate. I feel that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Blair.
And I'm Kirsten, and we are mediocre content. And I hope that you enjoy the title of this episode, because I enjoyed putting it on there.
Yes.
Do you want to say it?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not well versed in this particular topic in which we are speaking of today.
No, that's okay. I figured as much, but also super fun because you educated me last week about the Girl Scouts, which I've never been part of. So now I'm going to educate you on, the weeboo world, I guess.
He said, "It's okay, Blair. You're dumb."
No, that is not what I said. It's okay, Blair. Oh my God. That is not what I meant. Also.
No, I know.
Anyway.
I know. All right.
All the same, it will be really fun. But I'm not here to tell you it's really fun because I don't do the disclaimer. So
Yes.
somebody else can handle that.
Okay, but like who else is here? Because
Presenting somebody else.
It's just me.
It is just you.
Is somebody else in the room with us? Like, I need to know.
I mean,
No.
Puma just left, so
Oh, Puma.
she could have done it.
What a cute little girl.
Mm.
All right. So before we get started, we are not experts on anything. If you have come to the podcast to get any kind of advice, we are not the place for that. But we are the place to learn about new things, new places, new nouns, new
nouns, new consonants,
new places, people, and things.
This disclaimer has derailed.
We also encourage you to do your own research in the event that you find something that you don't agree with / you don't think we got right, which is very possible. So just be aware of that and then yell at us later. Thank you so much.
With kindness.
With kindness.
And speaking of kindness, I will kindly give Blair the floor again because she's got the good news this week.
Thank you so much.
Presenting the other person.
Kill me. All right. So this is how coffee grounds are going to save the world. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
All right. So coffee grounds have been tested in a laboratory setting for their potential use as a cleanup agent of common agricultural runoff. Now, suggesting that along with compost, snail repellent, and many other uses, coffee grounds could protect water sources from agricultural pollution. Fun anecdote, my aunt does a lot of gardening, and she uses coffee grounds in her garden to keep the slugs from eating her plants.
That is literally lovely.
She lives in the Pacific Northwest, and she hates banana slugs so much. She has a specific banana slug knife that she does use.
I'm sorry, we're now armed. Your aunt against banana slugs.
That's right. That's right. All right. A study looked at bentazone, a common herbicide used in agriculture, and found that when coffee grounds are activated with zinc chloride, the carbon molecules therein could remove 70% of the bentazone content from contaminated water. Very exciting. Agricultural runoff from vegetable and grain farming is one of the largest sources of water pollution in human society. We knew that. Chemicals or fertilizers are spread over fields, and rains wash the excess into the waterways. Herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides wreak havoc on riverine life forms. Wow, what a
riverine.
Riverine.
Wolverine.
While the excess phosphorus and nitrogen cause algal blooms in bays and estuaries, choking the life from the seagrass and other species.
Choking the life. This is a very dramatic article.
Very dramatic. On a brighter note, gardeners, responsible business owners, and inventors all over the world. Use coffee grounds for all kinds of things, and the scope of their second and third use value is growing every year.
Hmm.
Along with mixing them into compost or ensuring that they're responsibly recycled, innovators have been taking coffee's unique chemical composition and adding it to concrete, shoes, furniture, low-income housing, and more.
Whoa.
Millions of tons of coffee grounds are nevertheless produced every year and sent to landfills where they decompose and emit greenhouse gases.
Mm-hmm.
Scientists from Brazil's Federal Technological University of Paraná um, propose in their study that that used coffee grounds could be utilized to clean up excess bentazone, which has been detected in some water systems at levels above the legislated limits of the European Union's water framework directive.
Mm.
Though not outrightly identified as a carcinogen, bentazone has been shown to affect human health if ingested, inhaled, or absorbed through the skin. The authors recommended an industrial scale experiment of coffee and bentazone, but admit that it has the potential to act as a key component in the circular economy where coffee is consumed and then spread over fields as a way to remove excess herbicides while also providing benefits as compost.
Our local coffee shop actually has a big old bin they put their grounds in for people to come in and use as compost and stuff for their
Oh,
gardens.
nice.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And they're really good. And it's a really great option. So if you've never explored it before, it can be actually really great for your planties.
Precisely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the only good news that I decided to do.
That's fair.
Because I'm an adult and I make my own decisions.
It's the best excuse ever. I don't think we say that a lot in life. No, I'm an adult and I've made my choice. You know what? Yes. Yes. Queen. That's okay. I got a lot of crap to say.
Great.
Got it worked out.
Good. Onward. Let's do it.
So as usual, I feel like my title is never indicative really of what you're going to experience during this podcast. So I'll give you a little bit of a tidbit of information and let you know that we are talking about Japanese animation and the history of, anime for short. So UwU was the only option.
If you thought this was a podcast about University of Washington University, then you were wrong.
You're very wrong, very off, in fact. You're going to be so sad. I would also like to go ahead and apologize for mispronunciations. If you don't know, I'm not Japanese, and unfortunately, I don't speak Japanese either. So I will probably have a little bit of a pronunciation slip-ups, and I apologize. Feel free, as always, to let us know what we've messed up and let us know the best way to say it. That's always encouraged. And we always talk about how to reach us at the end anyway. So,
we will do our best.
Absolutely. So we'll start like we do all the time. This is the dawn of an age in animation, and this is specific to Japan, so I just want to make that very clear if you haven't gathered that already. So Japan began producing animation in 1917, and this was at the time when silent films were still really big, technology and all. So through trial and error, drawing and cutout animation techniques based on animated shorts from France and the United States. People started talking about the high quality of Japanese, quote, manga films, but Japanese anime were costlier to produce than Western animations and were overshadowed by the popularity of Disney at the time, because Disney's huge, of course.
Disney.
Always there. And so, unfortunately, it did kind of have a rocky start. One of the things that helped find their niche, though, was anime production for public relations and publicity campaigns by public institutions. Domestic anime production was beginning to develop a small but solid foundation when Tokyo and the surrounding area suffered catastrophic damage in the Great Kanto earthquake that was in 1923. The anime industry was forced to start over from scratch after that, so they already kind of had it bad. They started to get into these public campaigns and try and get the art out there, and then had a huge halt in productivity because of this earthquake. The industry continued to struggle, unable to respond adequately to successive innovations, including the appearance of the first talkies in the 1929 and then color film in 1932. They were really behind on the times, unfortunately, and things were just progressing really rapidly around them. During this period, Ofuji Noburo won international acclaim for what was called The Thief of Baguda Castle, which I'd never heard of. If you have, shout out to you. Which he made by cutting and pasting Japanese colored paper, or chiyogami. His film is remembered as the first to make its presence felt outside of Japan. So this is kind of like an entry into the market for real this time.
Mhm.
Many other promising anime artists appeared one after another, but with war approaching, goods were extremely short supply, and as the national mood would turn kind of militaristic, it wasn't really a time or place for, unfortunately, the anime artists or anime of the time. And even film was not easy to get a hold of course. It was in this context that the first full-length theatrical, film in the history of Japanese anime would be released. Momotaru, which was Momotaru's Divine Sea Warriors, was 74 minutes long, produced by the Navy, came out just before the end of the war. And this was a propagandistic kind of film, as you might assume, because it came from the Navy.
Yep.
And it was actually designed to lift morale and commitment to the war effort. So again, we're seeing this kind of Japanese animation that is still kind of public. It's not really there for, what would you say, like,
for like creative
right.
reasons.
It's not like you're going to the movies on the weekend.
Also, would like to confirm that it was produced by the Japanese Navy. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're fine.
Japanese Navy and
Yes.
not the American Navy.
Oh, yeah,
Just
no way.
wanted to put that out there.
No. Ours
Yeah.
was in the Navy. That was ours.
Uh.
The YMCA, perhaps. Anyway, yeah. So they came out with it, but again, it wasn't really for pleasure. It was more for public relations, propaganda, government, that kind of thing. However, soon after the war ended, the general headquarters of the Allied occupation brought together 100 anime artists in the bombed-out ruins of Tokyo to form Shin Nihon Dogasha, or the New Japan Animation Company. The aim was to make it easier to spread occupation policies by having the artists produce anime in praise of democracy, which was huge. It was like, it's the turn of a century, basically. Yeah. However, many of the artists were fiercely independent and territorial, not great for that kind of advertising and propaganda. And unfortunately, the company was riven by disagreements from the outset, of course, because your ideals clash. The project strayed off course and eventually disbanded, and even though the Allied occupation threw in the towel, it seemed that the switch from militarism to democracy was just overall going to be very difficult. And of course, when it comes to art and things, you'll see this in every country, but when it comes to art, it's often a telling of the time and the discourse. And it's interesting to see even something like anime kind of impacted by this, but it also makes sense. The next portion of the legacy of anime is actually documented by Toei Animation, which is what it's called now. It was originally called Toei Doga. It was during these years, as Japan began to recover from the war, that Okawa Hiroshi, president of the Toei Film Company, saw Disney's Snow White in 1937, and he was overwhelmed by the gorgeous color of the film, as many people were. It was their first...
I was going to say, low-key, we all were very overwhelmed.
Absolutely. It was a big moment in film, even in the Americas. So in 1956... Okawa Hiroshi built a modern studio, which was a white-walled palace with air conditioning, as people called it. Apparently, that was like a weird term at the time. Makes sense. Yeah. And founded Toei Doga. His ambition was to become the Disney of the East, which was a huge undertaking, especially with how much we know Disney has blown up. But in fairness, so has anime in a way. So Toei Doga chose Hakujeda, The Legend of the White Snake, as their very first film. They sent a research team to the United States and invited several experts to travel to Japan as mentors, also huge. As a result, they were able to master the Disney system of what was called assembly line production, which I feel like we're all kind of familiar with in different degrees. And they hired a team of new employees who honed their skills while they produced the film under the supervision of veteran animators like Mori Yasuji and Daikuhara Akira. With jobs hard to come by in the post-war Japan, the new company was able to attract an outstanding team of young talent happy to work for relative low starting salaries. It was a typical labor-intensive company, of course. However, as the government's drive to double people's income started to take effect, wages shot up and the company soon found itself in the red. Attendances at the World Masterpiece Fairy Tale Anime Series, a manga festival held every year during the springtime school holidays, were falling, and the company's financial future was very rocky. The labor movement was also gaining momentum, which brought frequent labor disputes and labor management clashes. I feel like this is also something that just kind of systemically happens after a war in most countries as well. It's not just Japan at all.
Right.
It just kind of like the ebb and flow of the economy once something like this happens. So, it's not great, but it does rebound. Takahata Isao and Miyazaki Hayao, now known for Studio Ghibli, if you are familiar with that.
I know it's Studio Ghibli.
Yes. They began their careers actually at Toei Daga. Takahata entered the company in 1959 and Miyazaki in 1963. Both were active members of the labor union. Takahata served as vice chairman, and Miyazaki actually served as secretary general. So, fun facts. The next phase is called the first Japanese television anime, which was Tetsuwan Atomu. So, we're going to talk about that a little bit. And this was yet again another kind of entry into the field, another try, if you will. On January 1, 1963, Fuji Television broadcasted a 30-minute animated television series called Tetsuwan Otomu, which is better known as Astro Boy, and you might actually know this. It was one of the animes that aired in the States as well. They had an English version on Toonami, if you're familiar with that. If you're a Cartoon Network stan, you probably are at least familiar with it. And of course, there is also a manga, so the book version. Very popular when I was growing up. That was like one of the ones that all the kids liked because it was simple too and very relatable. It was like this little kid who could like fly and he was like this robot thing. Doesn't matter. The show became a surprise hit is the point. And it started the anime boom in a period of intense competition for TV audiences. The success marked the beginning of a new kind of anime industry that kind of branched away from even just the Disney of the East kind of feel. Now you don't have to worry about movies and full-length films. You can have these snippets, these mini experiences in television. They're shorter, take potentially less time to put together, and you can create multiple at a time instead of one length film that takes you forever.
Right.
The low franchise fees paid to the studio for Astro Boy meant that the company needed to come up with a way to drastically cut production costs overall. They ruthlessly cut the number of drawings, trimmed the number of lines in each image to the bare minimum, and took to using more still images. They worked to make the storylines quicker and devised clever ways of simulating movement from sound effects to dialogue, which was, again, huge. The company offset its losses with copyright income, so licensing the rights to the character to the corporate sponsor who used the character on popular brand of chocolates and things like that. This was like the age of, you see Hello Kitty everywhere. Somebody's paying the copyright fees for that. This would really help the company financially. However, in general, they still had somewhat of a loss and decided to invest income, like the owner, Tezuka, from the manga publishing, which again is the book version. And it was a generous gesture, typical of the man that they would end up calling the god of manga. So what they did is they took the sales from the book, which is where lots of anime stems from, not all though, and they just invested that into the actual animation.
Nice.
We don't talk a lot about the history of manga, obviously. It's like its own separate thing. Like I said, some of the manga is created into animes. Some animes are made completely on their own without a manga to reference. But a lot of them do start that way. So it would have to be a separate episode, but just know it does exist, and I'm very fully aware So I apologize. We're not going to be able to get
She
today.
is. She's fully aware.
I'm full of, if you can't see my bookcase, but if you could, I'm fully aware. Anyway, that is the first half. It just kind of sets you up. Unfortunately, it's not great. If you're an anime fan now, you know how rampant it is, but it didn't start very great. So in the second half, we'll talk a little bit more about its time after that, and you'll see, hopefully, it start to take off.
Tired of dealing with lawn work in the sweltering heat of summer? Or maybe you're not a fan of being attacked by spiders while raking the leaves in the fall. I know I'm not. No matter what lawn and garden service you need, we have a solution for you.
If you live in the Richmond, Virginia area, KT Maintenance LLC is your one-stop shop for lawn care, brush removal, and even mulch and rock delivery. Whether you need commercial or residential services, each job gets a free estimate from owner and operator Chris Thornton.
To get your free estimate today, call Chris at 804-986-8270 or send an email his way at ktmaintllc@gmail.com and get your lawn and garden feeling fresh.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the break. We are now hopefully going to be talking about the rise of anime. That would be great.
The rise.
I feel like what we did was talk about, well, we're starting, it sucks. We started, it still sucks.
Not good.
It's not good. Okay, so this section is called The Wilderness Years and the Appearance of Blockbuster. So fun.
Love Blockbuster.
Love Blockbuster.
R.I.P.
Oh gosh, what an experience. That's when
Except for that one in Oregon that's still alive, apparently.
Oh, really? I need to go to Oregon.
I know that because John Oliver did a special about something. I think it was about I don't think it was about Blockbuster, but he sent a jock strap to the
I'm sorry.
I know.
What?
To the last Blockbuster, and it was significant because the jock strap was worn by Mel Gibson for some reason in a movie.
Wow, is that a poor Blockbuster?
I don't know.
Just opens this jock strap.
I forgot
Innocent
what the premise was for that, but that's what I know.
I don't think there's a single premise you could tell me that would justify that at all, actually.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
Anyway,
I just wanted to let you know how I know.
Now we need a jockstrap anime.
No, we don't.
Absolutely, we do. Somebody make that happen.
All right.
Anyway. So merchandising. Merchandising became entrenched as part of the basic business model for all television anime that followed. And again, I would argue this is true for many things. If you have a Disney film that you like, there's thousands of pieces of merchandise that you can buy with that thing on it, right? But it's also a money-making tool for the company, of course. The most popular genre dealt with science fiction and space, followed by shows about girls with magic powers. As you can imagine, Sailor Moon was definitely one of these.
Sailor Moon! I know that one too.
And of course, she has tons of merchandise, of course.
Yeah, she do.
Both fan-made as well as official merch, of course. In 1968, there was a popular baseball-themed Kyojin no Hashi, which was Star of the Giants, followed in 1969 by the first episode of the family drama Saze-san, which continues to this day, actually, and is considered the longest running series in anime history. So if you haven't seen it, I haven't seen it, maybe check it out. It'd be cool to see how it progressed through the years with the different anime styles and new technologies that came through, because 1969 to now is a long time. So, but not every series was a winner, of course, and that's the truth for any kind of animation. At Toei Doga, which continued to run a deficit due to high production costs, labor management relations deteriorated, leading to a lockout and layoffs in the summer of 1972. Mushi Production went bankrupt in 1973, although the labor union later took over from Tezuka, which was the founder, and has led the company until the present day. So it went under, but got revived by somebody else. So it's still technically running, but not by the same person.
Yeah.
And the anime industry went into recession. Behind the recession were large economic issues such as the Nixon shock in 1971, which, like our President Nixon?
I guess.
I've
Let me
never heard of
see.
it. I apologize in advance to anyone who was personally offended by Nixon at the time and created shock in Japan.
Literally, that would be so funny.
Right. They were even shocked. And then there was
They were like,
also
white boy did what?
he said, "What?" And then the oil crisis in 1973. Find anything
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Nixon shock, according to Wikipedia,
hmm
the Nixon shock refers to the effect of a series of economic measures, including wage and price freezes, surcharges on imports, and the unilateral cancellation of direct international convertibility of the United States dollar to gold, taken by the United States President Richard Nixon in 1971 in response to increasing something. Hold on. Increasing inflation.
Oh, thanks, Nixon. You shocked the world, literally.
Rude.
Japan felt that. Sorry, Japan. When an animated television series ended, the staff was completely disbanded, just so you know, and Toei's seniority-based employment system would completely fall apart, and they ended up switching to a system of performance-based pay as well. They were required to change to a corporate style that was more compatible with the shrewd programming policies of television stations.
Shrewd.
Shrewd, which, it might have been crappy at the time, but I feel like it was probably the right direction if they wanted to succeed. So, kind of pick your battles, whatever. Amidst the recessionary mood of these bleak years, a new work appeared that challenged the idea of anime as simply children's entertainment, which I would argue maybe at that time it was, but I don't know how many kids were watching it, maybe a lot. But there was a anime that was released that kind of set this off from children's to young adults, and it was called Uchu Sankan Yamato, sorry, or Space Battleship Yamato, and it was released as a TV series in 1974 and a feature film in 1977. It blew up. Millions of young adults were like, "This is my jam. This is what I'm into." Which is good because now you're catering to an audience that can disperse it a little more
Yeah.
effectively than children.
If it becomes cool with the kids, the older kids, then it's
Yes,
cool.
exactly. And so this is the proliferation of Japan animation fans, which is young adults like myself. Meanwhile, Japanese television anime began to become popular among these young adults overseas, which was great for Japan.
Mm-hmm.
In some countries, adults rejected it, of course, calling it Japanation and criticizing it as cheap, violent, and sexually explicit. I would argue that is still the truth, but we are into it.
But we
when Kayandi, or Candy Candy, which just sounds bad.
I know.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
I know.
But this was broadcasted in France. Young girls were glued to the television screen. They were all about it. Some parents resented this, naturally, claiming their children were being corrupted by a strange culture from the Orient, which is so terrible.
Racist.
Absolutely. Nevertheless, the anime fan base continued to grow around the world, and these young adults were like, nah, we're sticking with it, this is what we like, and we want more. Some fans even wonder, why can't our country create this particular type of work? And if you haven't seen an anime, I highly recommend that you do, because in my opinion, it really is very unique to the area, to the culture. The storylines are also somewhat unique, and of course, the types of characters that you meet are equally as unique, and it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's very different than the negative connotations that it used to have. It's actually very quite well received overall now. Although the number of television anime would gradually recover after the initial collapse of the bubble economy in 1992, the economic slump of the 1990s, which was terrible for this industry, it would, as a whole, not quite recover from its, quote, golden years. The slump in advertising revenue, dwindling birth rates, and the popularity of alternative forms of entertainment, like video games and cell phones, of course, led to sluggish primetime ratings and a decline in the total number of anime since the peak in 2006. Although there are technically fewer anime on the main commercial stations today, other channels have remained anime friendly. There's TV Tokyo Chief among them, followed by local and regional stations, satellite channels, and other communication systems. Unfortunately, these smaller channels tend to have smaller budgets, of course, and they do have predictable consequences for production costs, just kind of what it is.
Yep.
But the Japanese anime industry is a turning point. The reality is that many anime production companies are struggling and have become little more than subcontractors for television stations. They do need to improve the status of these companies, first and foremost, and, develop new talent based on this article's assumptions.
Yeah.
But also, at least in the States, and I don't know, obviously, I don't live in Japan, so I don't know what it's like over there to try and get some of this content. But it's hard in the States as well, unless you owned Funimation, which has now merged with Crunchyroll. And Crunchyroll, up until recently, didn't have an operating app, so you could only watch it through your browser source, which was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And Funimation had much more user-friendly a UI for your user preferences. You could skip intros and things, and Crunchyroll was really way behind on that. But honestly, unless you're doing it like pirated or something, you
Yeah.
can't really access it.
So my question to you, and this is dumb, but
No.
so like where in terms of like Japanese animation does like the Pokemon TV series and like Yu-Gi-Oh and that kind of stuff fall? Because I know
That's, yeah.
um it's technically not like it's not based on like
Manga. Yeah.
manga or anything like
Yeah.
that. Um, but it
Ironically,
is like a specific style, right?
yeah. And they do have mangas of it now, too. So
Oh.
I honestly don't know. I remember, like, Caden reads the Yu-Gi-Oh! Or he did read the Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, and I think I had maybe one or two as a kid, but never the Pokemon ones. It was always show-based.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a good answer for it, honestly. I think those were probably, well, I say probably. I remember watching it as a kid, so those are probably less catch you as a young adult, but catch you and keep you as a kid as it
Right.
progressed. And then the merchandise just kind of kept you holding on into your adult years,
Yeah.
even if you stopped watching the show or never read the mangas or whatever. So I'm not really sure.
Okay.
That's not
Just
helpful.
curious.
No, that's a fair question. Um, so with that, I thought it would be cool to at least talk about some of the stuff that's popular today, at least based on the article that I found that's claimed to have tops animes of today. The article was published March 15th of 2024, so fairly recently, and I find it to be pretty reliable based on just general knowledge, and I'm just like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense based on even things that I know in the community. But also keep in mind that this is just a general poll of information. If you see something that you love at a different number or not something at all in this list, don't take it personally. It's literally just a random thing on the internet that has nothing to do with your preferences. And feel free to love what you like and let us know what you like, and we'll talk about that later. So anyway,
Yeah.
number one on the list is Jujutsu Kaisen, and this was created in 2020. It exploded onto the scene. It is considered a stylish action sequence with colorful characters and fascinating mythical world. The protagonist, who is Yuji Itadori, has become a quick fan favorite for his dedication to sacrifice himself to contain the dangerous cursed spirit Sukuna by eating his fingers. So love that.
Hmm.
Don't give me that face.
Okay.
It's anime.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's normal. Spoiler alert, he does in fact eat the fingers. So, love that. Number two on the list is Demon Slayer, created in 2019. I've seen both of these, the first one and the second one, and I would prefer Demon Slayer over Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay.
But Kimetsu no Yaiba, or Demon Slayer, has captivated audience with its stunning animation and emotional story following Tanjiro Kamado's quest to save his sister Nezuko from demonhood. Its recent conclusion in the manga has sparked intense discussions online as fans eagerly await a possible return. Now, if you watch the anime versus reading the manga, you probably cried during the most recent season. I'm so sorry. But if you're curious to know what the end is before watching the anime, you'd have to start with the manga, so good luck with that. Number 3 spot is Attack on Titan, which I did not like.
Okay.
This was produced in 2013. I encourage you, Blair, take a look at Attack on Titan. Just kind of look it up.
Okay.
You'll be immediately grossed out. Attack on Titan
Uh-oh.
continues to build momentum in its final season, keeping viewers hooked with revelations from the Titans, high-stakes battles, and a complex ideological conflict between friends turned enemies. Its mature tone and masterful storytelling cement its status as an anime great. Now, people love this thing. People love this series. There's a manga about it, of course. The Titans are huge, and they look like they have no skin, and all you see is muscles.
Yeah, why do they look like
They look completely
skin.
devoid of skin. They have zero epidermis happening. I don't know the
Sorry,
storyline.
sir, your cartilage and muscles?
They're actually really well defined.
You want to put some clothes on?
You mean your epidural layer?
Epidermis. Epidermal.
He needs more skin. Anyway, I thought you might like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. People love this stuff, though. Like, this is like a staple for many people, and I applaud you for that. I could not get into it.
Okay.
Also, I think the main character is like a love interest for a lot of people that like anime. I've seen pictures
Oh.
of this guy. I'm not that interested. It
Okay.
is, that's probably triggering. I apologize, but it's
Let me
personal.
see.
Yeah, take a look at the protagonist, yeah. Number 4 is one that I also do love, My Hero Academia, created in 2016. My Hero reigns as one of the top superhero stories in any medium today, and it really is a fantastic storyline, amazing character
Oh, he's
development.
cute.
Ew! All right. Okay.
I mean, he's not like, he's a cartoon. So
Sure.
on the scale of like
Okay.
1 being Jafar from Aladdin and
Okay.
10 being Prince Eric from
We have heard Blair's preferences today. We know what she likes.
I would say I would give him a 9.5.
Oh, wow. That's pretty
Yeah.
high for you.
Yeah.
Guess you're going to watch Attack on Titan.
Maybe. I don't know.
You should. Tell me if you like it. I don't like it, but it's fine. You might like the main character. That's enough.
I really just want to figure out why these guys don't have any skin.
The ultimate question. Put your skin on. I've never woken up and be like, oh, forgot to put my skin on this morning.
My skin suit.
Oh, shoot. They're going to see every muscle I've ever owned. Anyway, My Hero is very popular. Actually, you might like My Hero. It's very fun, and
Yeah?
it makes me cry.
Okay.
Izuku Midoriya's inspirational underdog journey to become a hero despite his lack of powers resonates strongly with fans. Each episode delivers striking animation and emotional growth, and I can tell you, it really is a really well-rounded story. Number 5 is One Punch Man. This was created in 2015, also not one I really liked. You should look him up too, he's completely bald. One Punch Man subverts expectations with its stark contrast between Satama's unassuming nature and his immense power. He kind of looks like he wouldn't be much, but he is everything, is the point of that sentence. Fans can't get enough
He
of
looks like Caillou grew up.
I know. Very much so. It's hilarious. You're right. But they love the offbeat comedy and of course the action and Satami nonchalantly dominating bizarre villains and monsters. I would kind of put this in the realm of One Piece, which we will talk about. Number 6 is Black Clover, another one that I really liked, and this was created in 2017. Black Clover steadily gained a loyal following for its classic shonen adventure feeling featuring the loud but big-hearted Asta. I can tell you that is exactly why I felt the way that I felt. It felt very, like, 90s style to me, which is where I grew up with it. Fans are invested in Asta's quest to become the Magic Emperor while protecting his friends. Its accessibility makes it a favorite introductory anime, and I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Number 7 is One Piece, created in 1999. Still going strong. It just had a full live action movie made out of it. And fans freaking loved it. So if you like One Piece and you haven't heard of this, I'm very surprised. But if you haven't, go check it out. One Piece continues its decade-spanning episodic storytelling as one of the best-selling manga worldwide. Audiences are deeply immersed in the rich world and cast of the Straw Hat Pirates. With no ending in sight, it still remains a staple of any anime fan's journey. Now, I watched One Piece. It wasn't my favorite anime. I didn't get like hardcore into it, but it is pretty good. It's decent, and if you haven't seen it, you should probably check it out. Dr. Stone, which I haven't personally heard of, but that was created in 2019, sorry, and it's number 8 on the chart. Dr. Stone brings intelligence and scientific flair to the post-apocalypse journey, or genre, sorry, with ingenious protagonist Senku leading civilization's revival. Fans love the creative strategies Senku and his allies use to overcome challenges and defeat brute force. So that's pretty stereotypical, I would say.
Yeah.
Number 9 makes me laugh when I read it. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. This was created in 2018. Also, the titles are so long.
Ick.
Right? And it stands out among fantasy stories of its lighthearted approach and inventive world building.
This is basically just Flubber, but anime.
I think it's a little more nuanced than that, but sure.
That's probably true.
I did like Flubber as a kid. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Robin Williams.
R.I.P.
Protagonist Rimuru Tempest's affable leadership of a monstrous nation makes for a fun twist, I guess. I don't know. And then the last one for top 10 is UwU, made in 2014, and this is sports related. For anybody who likes sports anime, this is an intense volleyball match and inspirational storyline journey of Hinata, who is on the team. Its uplifting themes and camaraderie makes it binge-worthy. I've watched a couple episodes. I'm just not into the sports anime style, but lots of people love it, and honestly, it's got a great look to it. It's just not my cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway, the article has a huge ranking list, actually. It goes far beyond 10. I mean, I think it even goes into the 30s. I just obviously do not have the time nor willpower to read all of those to you.
Definitely not.
So definitely, as always, feel free to check it out. We'll have the link provided so you can look at the list if you want and see if yours even made the cut. If you didn't see your fave, we'd love to know what it is. Honestly, for reference, my animes as a kid when I was growing up in the 90s were like Ronin Warriors, Yu Yu Hakusho, G Gundam, Rurouni Kenshin, Inuyasha, Tokyo Mew Mew. I got a lot, okay? And I do like some of the new stuff, but I also just love some of the oldies. There are a couple of controversial things I would like to say as well, just to really spur
Oh no.
some issues here. So there are 3 in particular that I did not like growing up, and that included Death Note, which there are diehards of Death Note, if you don't know. It's like a whole thing. Naruto, sorry, Rachel, if you ever listen to my podcast. Rachel is
I was going to say
diehard.
Caroline loves Naruto, and so does Mary.
There are lots of people that love it. I watched the first season and kind of left it at that. I don't even think I watched the entirety of the first season, if I'm being honest. And then, of course, One Piece. Like I said, they're good. They're just not anything I could get into. And if you do love that, fantastic. That's totally on you. Just not for me. But some of the newer ones I have liked were that Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, Black Clover. I did like My Hero. If you haven't seen Fairy Tail, also a really good one. For some reason, Sword Art Online is controversial. I loved it. I did not like the Alicization season, which I think was like the 3rd one, but the first 2 were really good. There's also Food Wars, which is hilariously and weirdly, can I say sexual? It's about food, but the sounds that they make when they eat the food, you're like, is this questionable?
Oh, no.
Very weird. I would enter that one with caution. But it is really cool and very fun. Maid Sama, also a little weird. 18 plus for sure. And then Fruits Baskets is a really cute classic one. So anyway, that's what I have to say. Long story long, I am an anime fan. I love manga. I've been reading it for a really long time and watching it for a really long time. And I have no desire to stop. So
Cool. Thank you for educating us.
Is there anything that you watched growing up that you could like attribute to?
Literally none. I mean, I watched, this is the closest I got to anime. So we had Cartoon Network.
Yeah, sure.
And Philip would watch Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right.
And then I watched, I think Sailor Moon was on Cartoon Network for a brief moment. So I watched a little bit of that.
Nice.
But I wasn't like super into it. And then Totally Spies was also like in that same
yes,
like font, if you will.
You're right. It is a very, it was like our version.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it. I had no exposure to like any Asian culture growing up other than like the Chinese restaurant down the street. Like there was no,
that's okay.
Like my parents just weren't like,
that's
and
fair.
And I grew up in kind of like a small area where that wasn't a thing. So I don't know. As I've gotten older, I've like discovered a lot more. I haven't quite gotten into the whole like anime situation, but you know, who knows? Maybe it will develop.
Yeah. Did you watch the Winx Club?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. It's kind of also in a similar font, if you will.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Oh, and weirdly enough, I had a huge obsession with Hello Kitty at one point in my life, but I had no idea the like cultural background of Hello Kitty. I just knew that Hello Kitty existed.
We should do an episode on Hello Kitty.
Yeah.
Sanrio in general. Because I remember watching Hello Kitty episodes when I was little, and there was like this one wintry looking one that I remember a lot, and they would sing the song.
Did you watch Hamtaro?
Yes. Oh, yes. So good. Also in the same font.
Yes, in the same font. And I had like the little erasers for my pencils.
Oh my god.
And it was so cute.
It's Hamtaro time.
Yeah.
Gush, chicka, chicka, hoo.
Yeah.
Girl, don't you, I will whip out that song so fast. Yes, I did like Hamtaro.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I feel like it was I don't know if it was Disney Channel or a different channel, but it was like they were all kind of around like the old school Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers channel for some reason. I wish I could remember. Maybe it was like Kids X or X. I don't know. It was like some weird off-brand, I think. But anyway, totally agree. Yeah. Well, we'd love to hear from you guys, of course, whether you've watched it or not.
Feel free, obviously, to like let us know what you think. Obviously I don't know a lot about this topic, but so hopefully I've made you feel good about not knowing a lot about this topic if you also don't know a lot.
Totally fair.
But if you're like Kirsten and have a wide variety and exposure of knowledge, then let us know what you think.
Not like skin exposure. Put on your skin suits, everyone.
Put on your skin suits and buckle up. No. But email us with any questions, comments, concerns, topic suggestions at mediocrecontentpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, at Mediocre Content Podcast, and you can come see us live on Twitch every other Thursday. And we'll keep you posted about the Girl Scout.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Stream. So
did we just buy $60 worth of cookies?
No, the world may never know.
Who would know?
But yeah, so hang out with us on Twitch. See if we're going to test some Girl Scout cookies at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 11 p.m. BST. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars on any platform that you listen to this podcast. Mom, if you're listening on the RSS website,
Mom,
go to TikTok, or not TikTok, go to the Apple iPhone app, and then go down to our podcast and then rate us 5 stars there. You cannot rate us 5 stars on the RSS website.
Teaching Mom in real time.
That's just, I needed to let her know. And yeah, so we will see you guys next week. This has been Mediocre Content.
Thanks so much for listening. Cheers.
Cheers.